Update, brought to you by Simcox Advocates, advising businesses and families since 1949. Visit simcox.com or call 690 300. Manx Radio's Update with Andy Wint.
Fast am I. Good evening. It's 5:30. This is Update for Wednesday, 4th of October 2023 from Manx Radio. 30 minutes to look at the latest news on the Isle of Man. A background to that news, we got sport and business and Sea-Watch and travel updates and the newsmakers in person. This evening it looks like it's the south for the wind farm. CAV isn't retiring. Cardiology clinics return next week. Isle of Man Energy will aim to pay its bills on time, and the innovation of Peel Engineering.
Man Benham for all your business and legal needs.
First of all, at 29 minutes ahead of 6 o'clock, the update news headlines. Fast am I.
Isle of Man Energy is blaming exceptionally high gas costs, which put suppliers under pressure as reason it paid almost 90% of its invoices to Manx Utilities late. The firm says it's confident future payments will be more predictable. The Chief Minister is expected to make a mid-term statement in Tynwald when it reconvenes from summer recess. It'll come just over 2 years after the last general election. And more disposable items such as vapes could be banned on the Isle of Man in the future. The government says it's looking into the laws ahead of an upcoming ban on single-use plastics, which comes into force later this month. In international news, buying cigarettes is to be eventually prohibited in England under a plan announced by Rishi Sunak in Manchester. The UK PM wants to raise the smoking age by 1 year every year to stop today's children taking up the habit. Lawrence Fox has been sacked from his job on GB News and been arrested in the same day. The former presenter, who made sexist remarks about a journalist, is being questioned on suspicion of conspiracy to damage traffic cameras. And FIFA's confirmed the 2030 World Cup will be held in 6 countries across 3 continents. It's to mark 100 years since the first tournament. Those are the updated news headlines, next at 6.
Man Benham. Contact us by phone, video call, email or face-to-face. We're happy to connect with you. Manx Radio Weather with Manx Glass and Glazing.
Goromaya, thank you, Christian. From the Ronalds Way Met Office, there is a strong wind warning operation for the North Irish Sea. State of sea is moderate, becoming rough. Tomorrow morning, outbreaks of rain this evening after dark. As the southwesterly wind eases, lowest temperature 14 through the night. And for Thursday, Jordan, widespread rain on the strong southwesterly. That should die out late afternoon. We're up to 17 throughout the day, overnight minimum 15. And Jehenya, Friday, dry, cloudy and breezy, top temperature 17. Sunset this evening, 12 minutes to 7. Low tide, 11 minutes to 10. High water, 13 before 4 a.m. Sunrise, 26 minutes past 7. And the morning low water at 13 minutes past 10.
Manx Glass and Glazing are able to offer an emergency out-of-hours boarding up service. Call 491918.
A site at Eristane and Scard's been confirmed as Manx Utilities' preferred place for an onshore wind farm on the Isle of Man. It was one of 2 sites being considered to meet the government's commitment to developing an onshore wind farm by 2026. The story from Beth Espy.
Although still not a definite, it means plans for the development can now progress to the next stage, the Environment Impact Assessment and Design stage. It follows a recommendation to progress the Eristane and Scard's site initially. Manx Utilities says that appears to offer the best value to Manx electricity consumers with the lowest environmental impact. It's also said to be one of the windiest places on the Isle of Man, with anticipated speeds in excess of 10 metres per second, which would mean 5 turbines could meet a third of the island's annual demand. The next phase of work will include assessing 12 areas, including noise, landscape, ecology and transport, which are expected to be completed in 2025, before a planning application is then submitted. Bird and bat surveys have also started, expected to last for a minimum of 18 months, to make sure 2 seasons of data have been gathered. A public consultation will also be launched to give people a chance to have their say on the designs. However, while the focus has shifted to prioritising the Eristane and Scard site, government has not ruled out potentially developing another wind farm at Sulby and Druidale further down the line. Surveys are currently being planned for those sites to assess any possible future development after 2026. You can find out more about this story at manxradio.com. simcox.com.
Mark Cavendish will continue his illustrious cycling career into 2024 with another chance to achieve Tour de France immortality next season. The Manx missile and his team as Astana, Kazakhstan, announced this morning that Cav signed a contract extension with the squad for another year.
Hi everyone. Well, I guess that was me done this year. I announced my retirement. I was looking forward to not having to get up, train in any weather condition, not be away from home, spend time with the kids, and ultimately I'd miss racing. I love racing, but I was happy. I was in a happy place, and I knew I could go out on top. And obviously it wasn't the finish I hoped for, crashing at the Tour de France, but it is what it is. We grew incredibly as a team. I stand at Kazakhstan this year, and I felt a real family. And so much so that the first thing Vino said to me when I crashed out in France was, "Why don't you do another year?" Nah. Coming back even from, it's a collarbone, but coming back from another injury was a little bit like, another time. I was ready, I was at peace, but the more I've ridden this summer, I just love riding my bike. I spoke to the kids and I said, "What should Dad do?" And he said, "Carry on." It was a not question, so here we are, just one more year, hey?
Update brought to you by Simcox Advocates, advising businesses and families since 1949. Visit simcox.com or call 690 300.
24 minutes now before 6, live from Douglas in the Isle of Man. Cardiology clinics are to be reinstated as planned from next week, according to Manx Care. It comes after numerous appointments were cancelled at the last minute. Here's Amy Griffiths.
Manx Care has had to ask its existing team of cardiology consultants to step in and cover next week's clinics after not being able to staff them this week. It led to numerous appointments being cancelled, with some being delayed for 12 months. Paul Hay is a painter and decorator and suffers from pericarditis, a condition which causes inflammation of the lining around the heart. He says he's not been able to work because his appointments keep being cancelled.
My appointment has been rescheduled from the 11th of October 2023 to Friday the 25th of October 2024. I currently can't work because if I work with my arms above my head, I get massive chest pains down my arm, under my armpit, get short of breath, feel like passing out. So it's major. Even the cancellation of the appointment on the day of the appointment, I'd literally got a phone call at 9 o'clock in the morning saying, "I'm sorry, the cardiologists are sick," which is obviously a false statement, so I don't know why they told me that in the first place. The stress and anxiety it caused me all weekend obviously caused me pain, so I felt ill all weekend because of it.
Manx Care has apologised for the inconvenience and concern these cancellations have caused. It adds anyone who's been affected will be contacted and booked into upcoming clinics as soon as possible. In a statement, it says anyone with an appointment booked for next week will now be able to attend as originally planned, and they'll be contacted to make sure they're still available to make it. It's also thanked those taking over this week's clinics, saying they're doing so alongside their usual workload to try and address the high demand for the service.
Isle of Man Energy. Do you remember them as Manx Gas? Well, Isle of Man Energy says it's confident future payments to Manx utilities will be more predictable. It's after the gas supplier paid 22 out of 25 invoices to Manx utilities late, including 7 that were overdue by more than 30 days. Here's Sean Cowper.
The information was released by Manx Utilities following a Tynwald question from Speaker of the House of Keys, Ewan Watterson. MU Chairman Tim Crookall also revealed the Attorney General's chambers were instructed to issue letters before a claim on 6 occasions, while 4 claim forms relating to 7 invoices were issued by the High Court. The firm says exceptionally high gas costs has put gas suppliers under some pressure. In a statement to Manx Radio, an Isle of Man Energy spokesperson said while it had been necessary for Isle of Man Energy to pay invoices late over the last year, the company had been in constant dialogue with Manx Utilities about the situation and about revised payment timescales. It says it's happy to confirm that all payments are once again up to date, something echoed by Manx Utilities in response to Mr Watterson's question. Having adjusted to the situation, the firm says it's confident it can return to more predictable payment terms for future invoices.
Sea Watch with the Isle of Man Steam Packet Company.
Motor vessel Manxman departed Heysham at 2:20. She'll be on the outskirts of the bay fairly shortly and onto the Linkspan around 6 o'clock. Departing this evening, Ben McCree goes to Heysham at 8:15. Back to Heysham at midnight. The overnight departure 2:15 from Heysham, and in Douglas at 6 tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning's departure, Manxman heads to Heysham at 8:45. Tomorrow afternoon's Fastcraft 2 o'clock sailing to Liverpool is subject to possible disruption or cancellation, so to give the sailing every opportunity to take place, a final decision for the 2 o'clock Manannan to Liverpool will be made by the master at midday tomorrow.
Like the Steam Packet on Facebook for the latest sailing information.
A ban on certain single-use plastics comes into force on the Isle of Man in the next fortnight, being introduced on the 19th of October. It's part of the Manx government's attempts to tackle climate change. DEFA political member Dr Michelle Haywood, MHK, says more bans are being planned.
I think what we need to see now is we need to see this embed into the culture so that the businesses are all happy with it. They found alternatives and they're using those alternatives. And they have had over a year's notice that it's been coming. We are currently just working on some legislation that will look at disposable vapes, because we know that they're becoming an increasing problem, particularly in the marine environment now. We're seeing them all over the place, and not only have you got the plastics in there, we've got lithium batteries in there as well, and so we'll be looking to see if we can make some moves in that regard as well.
These are the outlets which are under attention at the moment, but it's people, isn't it? The population that needs to look to everything they do.
Absolutely, and I think a lot of that's already happened. I think we've moved away from there are so many reusable bags and cotton bags, and I have one tucked in my pocket half the time. I think we've started to make that move. We're not expecting to see plastic stemmed cotton buds come back in the shops at all. Manufacturers have made that move for us, and you just can't buy them anymore.
This is damage limitation, isn't it?
Yep, it's probably action that's being taken 20 or 30 years too late. And plastics were the great innovation when they came through, and in the 1960s and 70s, plastic stuff was embraced widely, and nobody had much consequence for what the aftermath was going to be. And the fact that we're still finding in beach cleans now, you can still find crisp packets that are 30 or 40 years old, and washing up bottles that that have got the old pence, 3 old pence written on them. It just signifies how long these things will last. And I think it's a sad legacy that if I've thrown a plastic bottle away ever that hasn't gone into a disposal route, it will still be floating somewhere around on the planet, probably when my great-great-great-grandchildren are around, and that's not what I want to leave for the future.
Manx Radio Business Briefing.
At 17 minutes now before 6, a consortium of strategic and financial investors has reportedly approached Essential with a bid to take over its Cannes Lion and other event operations. According to Sky News, private equity-backed exhibitions company Hive and MediaLink, a media and marketing advisory company owned by United Talent Agency, has tabled an offer to acquire Essential's events arm in the last few weeks. And for a full daily market report, go to ramseycrookall.com. Central Asia's enjoying economic good times, seeing breakneck growth during the first half of 2023, according to the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. But Euronews reports there are accusations from some countries in the regions that they're helping Moscow dodge sanctions. Tajikistan leads the pack with GDP growth of 7.5% expected this year, followed by Uzbekistan at 6.5%, Kazakhstan at 5%, and Kyrgyzstan at 4.6%. Many elements are at play, including China's reopening after the pandemic, yet there are hints that Moscow's invasion of Ukraine may be behind it. The invasion led citizens of Russia and Belarus to relocate their money and businesses to Central Asia in a bid to avoid Western sanctions. Euronews reported this has driven up consumption and demand for sophisticated services. Russian companies have moved to Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan, especially with their geographic proximity and cultural closeness, making the process much easier.
The Stock Market Report. Brought to you by Ramsey Crookall.
UK and European markets closed slightly higher as US bond yields pulled back from multi-year highs. The pound rose against the dollar in line with a retreat in the US currency. Oil fell as demand fears stemming from macroeconomic headwinds offset pledges by Saudi Arabia and Russia to continue crude output cuts to the end of this year. And gold crept lower as elevated US Treasury yields amid expectations that the Fed will keep interest rates higher for longer continue to weigh on investor sentiment. The numbers now from Ramsey Crookall. At the close in London, the FTSE 100 is down 0.75% at 7,412. The DAX in Frankfurt up almost a percentage point at the close at 15,096. A short time ago, New York City, the Dow Jones Industrial almost down, fractionally down if you call 0.03% down, 32,992. The Nasdaq Tech Stocks Index up almost 0.75% at 13,153, and the S&P 500 in Chicago up 0.25% at 4,239. In the exchange markets, the British pound sterling trading at $1 21.5 cents, €1 15.5 cents, and 23 South African rand 45.5 cents. In commodities, gold's up just over 0.1% at $1,825 per troy ounce, and a barrel of Brent crude down 4% at $87.39.
You've got an investment plan?
Yeah, Mike set it up.
But don't you need loads of money to do that?
Not this one. It's called Shearwater from Ramsey Crookall, and you pay in monthly as little as £100. So it's like saving regularly, really helping us invest in the future. For a house, or the kids' education.
£100 a month? I could easily do that.
You should. The sooner you start, the better.
Invest in your future with as little as £100 a month. Shearwater from Ramsey Crookall, the island's investment specialist for 75 years. Call 717171 or visit ramseycrookall.com. Licensed and regulated by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
The Isle of Man in 30 minutes. Update on Manx Radio with Andy Wint.
Fast am I at 13 minutes before 6. A Castletown woman's been ordered to carry out unpaid work after defrauding the taxpayer of tens of thousands of pounds, and she's paying the money back out of her benefits. The story from Tessa Hawley.
Nicola Karen Whitlam Beckett of King William's Way was overpaid almost £30,000 in benefits between July 2018 and February 2023. During that time, the 39-year-old failed to tell Treasury her circumstances had changed and that she was working and receiving maintenance payments from the fathers of her children. She later admitted 2 counts of benefit fraud. During sentencing at Douglas Courthouse, Whitlam Beckett's advocate said the offending had been out of character and she'd not set out to defraud the system. This has been an error of judgment, he added, confirming that she recognises her wrongdoing and is currently paying the overpayment back from the benefits she's currently receiving. Sentencing Whitlam Beckett to 200 hours of community service, which must be completed over the next year. Deputy High Bailiff Rachel Braidwood said the punishment should not be an easy task. Ordering her to pay £125 in prosecution costs, she added, it does appear that these offences are out of character.
Manx Radio Sport.
Fast am I, Rob Pritchard.
Fast am I. Good evening. The Isle of Man will learn more about its bid to host the 2029 Island Games later this month. That's according to the Education, Sport and Culture Minister, after the island officially launched its case to hold the Games in 6 years' time during this year's event in Guernsey in July. Inspectors from the International Island Games Association will visit Manx shores this month to look at venues and infrastructure, with a decision on the bid expected in 2024. Speaking on Manx Radio's Man in Line this week, Julie Edge is optimistic about the Isle of Man's chances of securing the Games.
I was in Guernsey. I did do the presentation to the Island Games Association, and certainly it looked very promising, and we have got the investment secured to bring the facilities up to speed.
Water sports now, and the Isle of Man showcased its skills amongst the UK's best in surf kayaking, with some strong results during the recent 2023 British Surf Kayaking Championships. The event, held in Wales at the weekend, saw 4 Manx competitors achieve their best results to date, as between them they reached 3 finals and narrowly missed out on 2 others. Steve Watt went on to secure 4th place in both the Grandmaster Longboat and Grandmaster Shortboat categories. Elsewhere, Richard Grigine Watson took 4th spot in the Open Longboat class and reached the semi-finals in the Wave Ski and Open Shortboat. Meanwhile, Jerry Quinn got as far as the quarterfinals in the Grandmaster Shortboat, whilst Arthur Banks-Jones got to both the first rounds of the Open Short and Longboat contests. And in martial arts, Manx Jiu-Jitsu club Graih have taken another impressive medal haul during their latest recent competition out in the UK. Taking part in the Compnet UK National in Wolverhampton, the Mixed Ireland squad took 90 medals overall, which included 6 gold, 5 silver and 8 bronze. Graih head coach Conrad Roberts says the mixed squad has worked incredibly hard in preparation for the event and that they have showed great resilience and mental fortitude.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
Inbound at Ronalds Way, the 10 to 6 Loganair from Manchester is on time. The 6:30 EasyJet from Belfast International on time. 10 to 8 Loganair from London City is on time. 20 past 8 Loganair inbound from Liverpool, the returning patient transfers on time. And the 25 to 9 EasyJet from Gatwick is currently showing on time. Outbound 6:25 Loganair to Liverpool on time, 7 o'clock EasyJet to Belfast Internationals on time, and the 9:05 EasyJet back to Gatwick is showing on time. On the roads, temporary lights on Main Road near Colby Glen for patching work, and some lights too at the bottom of Glen Road, Colby, for drainage work. Temporary lights at the junction of Queen's Road and Park Road in Port St Mary for gas main work, and also temporary lights at the bottom of the Howe Road near the Truggan Road in Port St Mary for substation work. Temporary lights at Bullig Bridge in St John's for drainage work. In Douglas, Hillside Avenue is closed for adjacent office window replacement, and temporary lights on Glen Crutchery Road at the roundabout with Victoria Road for resurfacing. So traffic heading along Glen Crutchery Road won't be able to turn down Victoria Road as a temporary one-way system at the top of Victoria Road, meaning traffic can only travel northbound. Get it? Got it? Good. Temporary lights on Upper Dukes Road, pavement work there in Douglas, and of course Newcastle Town Road's closed between Spring Valley Roundabout and the bottom of Richmond Hill for resurfacing. The junction at the bottom of Richmond Hill's been reopened. Traffic's diverted along the Energy from Waste Plant access road to the top of Quegg Hill. Remember, for all your traffic, go to manxradio.com, click on the traffic tab.
H&Hmotorcycles.im for all your motorcycle requirements. Southgate Industrial Estate, opposite Quayside Tyres. Call 665646.
Direct flights between the Isle of Man and Jersey are going on sale as part of a 5-week trial. Blue Islands says the service, which will launch in November, follows engagement with the business community. It'll operate on Tuesdays and Thursdays from the 7th of November to the 7th of December. And you'll also be able to connect to Guernsey, staying on board on the same aircraft. The Chief Exec of Blue Islands, Rob Verron, says the next stage is assessing the viability of such services and in this 5-week trial. Again, more details, go to manxradio.com. A short documentary celebrating the innovation of the Manx company Peel Engineering has been released. James Franklin from Culture Vannin.
Is archive footage of these tiny Peel 50 cars racing around up to Peel Castle, or trudging their way up Peel Hill, or being reversed into parking spaces, because of course they didn't have a reverse gear. One just got out and lifted it up by the handle and dragged it backwards. And then there are interviews with people who worked at Peel Engineering. And then there are these trips out in these cars. And these together paint a picture of Peel Engineering, which is, I think, quite unique, because there aren't many documentaries out there, and those that do don't really address the Manx angle. The fact that these creations came from Peel, this small factory high up in the harbour, and that these were very much a Manx product. The film is now freely available on the Culture Vannin website and also on our Culture Vannin YouTube page. And as well as this one short film, we've also got 6 other slightly longer films with the full interviews of the people we spoke to from Peel Engineering, and also longer features about the cars which we were given the privilege of seeing out on the road, the Peel 50, the Trident and the Viking. And these are all available on the Culture Vannin website and on our YouTube page.
Update brought to you by Simcox Advocates.
An organisation which works to help people who are homeless or in need says it's seen an increase in the number of people needing help with energy bills. Andy Feather from Graih Ministries, based at the Broadway Church in Douglas, says the ongoing cost of living crisis is making things more difficult.
Graih, the charity, kind of wound down a few years ago, and there was a night shelter based at one of the buildings Broadway has, and there was a drop-in as well. So when the charity was wound down, Broadway has taken on the work of purely just the drop-in. So we've kind of continued the work of offering meals, and within that setting we seek to help people however we can. We try to work flexibly, so we've in the past helped people move from one property to another if they were in need there. We've referred people to different agencies.
So roughly how many people are you helping here?
Yeah, it varies week to week. I've only been in position since November, so we have times of real busyness. It tends to be on a weekly basis, so Tuesdays quite busy, but TT week was reasonably quiet, but it seems to pick up again. With the variety of guests we've had some people who've come across and mistaken the Isle of Man as part of the UK, so think they'll be able to find work here and have the benefits and the standard of living that they were used to, but found out quickly that's not the case. So we've helped them alongside the Salvation Army. They've been great for us as well to help support people. But yeah, I think the cost of living, we've seen an increase of people needing support with income in regards to, I think, gas and electricity bills. So we've referred them to different agencies and they've sought to help them out with budgeting and things like that. So yeah, there has been an increase over, I'd say, the past couple of months.
That's it for Update Tonight, compiled from the resources of Manx Radio's news department. Thanks to newsreader Christian Jones, producer Amy Griffiths. After the news at 6 o'clock, it's Wednesday, so it's our arts programme Spotlight with Howie Kane. Greatest Hits with Chris Kinley at 6:30. The Opera Hour at 9 with Ernie Thorne and Rhiann Evans with After Hours at 10 tonight. Thanks for tuning in. There's another update tomorrow at 5:30.
WINT